Anger, it's one of the most intense, consuming, and destructive emotions we experience. It arrives suddenly, takes over our thoughts, clouds our judgment, and often leaves behind regret. Whether it's a rude comment, a traffic jam, an argument with someone close, or a post online that sparks outrage, anger has a way of hijacking our minds before we even realize it's happening. In today's fast-paced world, where social media amplifies every opinion, news cycles trigger constant emotional reactions, and daily frustrations pile up, anger has quietly become a dominant force in many people's lives. But what if you could live differently? What if you could face the same situations and simply not get angry? Over 2,000 years ago, the Stoic philosophers, Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, and Epictetus, studied human emotions deeply. They saw anger not as a natural force to obey, but as a dangerous impulse that could and should be mastered. To them, anger was a form of temporary madness, a moment when reason abandons the mind. But they also believed that by training your thoughts and understanding the nature of control, you can develop an inner calm so strong that anger loses its grip on you. The methods weren't vague theories. They were practical techniques designed to be used in the real world. In this video, we'll explore Stoic secrets that can help you never be controlled by anger again. You'll learn how to understand where anger comes from, how to shift your perspective, and how to use timeless mental exercises to neutralize emotional reactions before they take over. By the end, you'll see that anger isn't something that happens to you. It's something you can choose to master. This is not about becoming emotionless. It's about reclaiming your clarity, your strength, and your peace. It's about transforming your mind so that external events, no matter how chaotic, no longer dictate your emotional state. So take a deep breath, and let's dive into the Stoic path to mastering anger once and for all. Section 1. Understanding the nature of anger. To truly master anger, you must first understand what it is and where it comes from. Anger often feels like something that happens to us, as if it's an unstoppable emotional wave that crashes in without warning. But in reality, anger is a reaction. It's the mind's way of saying something should not be this way. It's born out of frustration, unmet expectations, or the desire to control what's happening around us. When someone cuts you off in traffic, when a colleague disrespects you, when plans fall apart, your mind instantly declares, "This shouldn't have happened." That internal resistance is the seed of anger. The Stoics understood this deeply. They observed that anger doesn't come from events themselves, but from the judgments we make about those events. The traffic jam doesn't make you angry. Your belief that this is unfair or I shouldn't be delayed does. The rude comment doesn't have power on its own. It's your interpretation of that comment that sparks the emotional fire. Epictetus famously taught that it's not things that disturb us, but our opinions about things. This insight shifts everything. It reveals that anger is not inevitable. It's constructed inside your mind, based on how you choose to perceive and evaluate situations. Another key aspect of anger is its relationship with control. At its core, anger often arises when we feel powerless to change something outside of ourselves. We want people to behave differently, events to unfold according to our plans, the world to align with our expectations. And when it doesn't, we resist reality. And that resistance shows up as anger. Marcus Aurelius called this a kind of self-inflicted wound because the world doesn't bend to our will. It follows its own nature. People act according to their understanding. Events happen as they do, and our anger doesn't change any of it. It only disturbs us. Anger is also incredibly deceptive. In the moment, it feels justified, even righteous. It makes us believe that reacting strongly will somehow fix the situation or restore justice. But as Seneca wrote, anger, if not restrained, is frequently more hurtful to us than the injury that provokes it. When we're angry, reason fades. We say things we later regret. We act impulsively. We make decisions that lead to more pain, not less. In this way, anger often punishes the person who feels it more than the person who caused it. Understanding this nature of anger, that it's rooted in judgment, control, and illusion, is the first step toward mastering it. Once you see anger not as an uncontrollable force, but as a mental response shaped by your interpretations, you begin to reclaim your power. You no longer have to be a prisoner to every emotional spark. You can step back, observe, and choose a wiser response. And that is where Stoicism begins, its quiet, transformative work. Section 2. The Stoic perspective on control. The Stoics believed that most of our emotional suffering, including anger, comes from a simple confusion. We spend our energy trying to control things that are not, and never will be, within our control. This principle is known as the dichotomy of control, and it sits at the very heart of Stoic philosophy. There are things you can control: your thoughts, your choices, your actions, your attitude. And there are things you cannot control, such as other people's behavior, external events, or the natural flow of life. The moment you blur this line, frustration begins. You try to control the uncontrollable, and when reality doesn't comply, anger takes root. Think about how often anger is triggered by something completely outside of your influence. Someone behaves rudely. A flight gets delayed. A friend breaks a promise. The weather ruins your plans. These situations lie entirely beyond your power, yet your mind reacts as if they should obey your expectations. You demand that the world follow your script, but it never agreed to. Epictetus taught that if you desire things to happen exactly as you wish, you will be disappointed and disturbed. But if you accept that things will unfold according to their nature, you'll find peace. This isn't resignation, it's clarity. It's recognizing the boundary between what belongs to you and what doesn't. Marcus Aurelius practiced this perspective daily. As Emperor of Rome, he faced betrayal, war, illness, and loss, circumstances far beyond his control. But he reminded himself each morning that people would act out of ignorance, selfishness, or emotion, and that it was his responsibility to respond with wisdom, not anger. He didn't expect the world to be perfect. He prepared himself to meet it as it was. By focusing on his own reasoned response, he maintained a calm center even in storms that would overwhelm most people. When you internalize this Stoic perspective, something powerful happens. Instead of trying to bend the world to fit your desires, you align your mind with reality. You stop wasting emotional energy on what you cannot influence, and you channel it into what you can. If someone insults you, you control your reaction. If plans fall apart, you control your mindset. If life presents challenges, you control how you rise to meet them. Anger loses its fuel when you no longer expect the external world to behave according to your will. This doesn't mean you become passive. On the contrary, you act more effectively because you focus on the only domain you truly command, yourself. You respond instead of reacting. You choose reason over impulse. You create inner stability that no external chaos can shake. This shift from controlling the world to mastering yourself is where anger begins to dissolve. It's not that the world becomes easier, it's that your relationship to it becomes wiser. Section 3. Stoic techniques to neutralize. Anger. Understanding anger and recognizing what's in your control is the foundation. But Stoicism goes further by offering practical mental techniques to weaken anger before it takes hold. These are not abstract ideas. They are habits you can use in real time to keep your mind clear when emotions start to rise. The first and perhaps most powerful technique is the simple act of pausing before reacting. Anger is impulsive. It demands immediate expression. But in that split second between stimulus and response, your freedom exists. The Stoics trained themselves to create this small gap. When something provoked them, they didn't rush to respond. They allowed a brief pause, just long enough to let reason step forward and emotion step back. In that moment, what could have escalated into an argument or destructive reaction often simply passed. Another Stoic technique is evening and morning reflection. At night, they would review their day, honestly examining where they allowed anger or irritation to control them. They didn't do this with shame, but with a commitment to growth. They looked at moments of weakness as opportunities to strengthen their inner discipline. Then, in the morning, they prepared their minds for the day ahead. Marcus Aurelius began each day by reminding himself that he would encounter selfish, rude, or ignorant people, not to judge them, but to anticipate reality. This daily mental training meant that when challenges appeared, they weren't surprises, they were expected. And because they were expected, they had less power to trigger anger. The Stoics also practiced reframing, changing the story you tell yourself about what just happened. When someone insults you, your first interpretation might be that you've been attacked, and anger flares up. But if you reframe it through a Stoic lens, you might remind yourself that the other person is acting from their own ignorance, pain, or misunderstanding. Their behavior reflects their character, not yours. By shifting the interpretation, you rob the moment of its emotional sting. Seneca advised seeing the bigger picture and not taking offenses personally, because most of the time, they aren't really about you at all. One of the most powerful Stoic exercises for emotional resilience is the view from above. This involves mentally stepping outside of the immediate moment and imagining the situation from a higher perspective, as if you're looking down on the world from above. Suddenly, the rude comment or frustrating event seems small and temporary against the vastness of life. Your personal irritation shrinks, and with it your anger. This exercise reminds you that most of the things that upset us are fleeting, and they only have the power we give them. The Stoics also used negative visualization, a practice of imagining potential challenges before they happen. By mentally rehearsing difficulties, delays, insults, disagreements, you reduce the shock when they occur. Instead of being caught off guard, you face them calmly because your mind has already accepted their possibility. This doesn't make you pessimistic. It makes you prepared. When reality unfolds as expected, anger has no space to grow. Each of these techniques is simple, but their power lies in consistent practice. By pausing before reacting, reflecting daily, reframing events, seeing the bigger picture, and preparing your mind for difficulties, you gradually build emotional strength. Anger doesn't disappear overnight, but over time, it finds fewer places to take root. You become less reactive and more deliberate. Your mind starts to default to calm instead of rage, and that shift is where real transformation begins. Section 4. Real-life application in modern situations. Philosophy only matters if it can be lived. The real test of Stoicism is not how well you understand its principles in theory, but how effectively you apply them in the everyday moments that test your patience and self-control. Anger doesn't usually appear in dramatic, life-changing events. More often, it sneaks in through small, ordinary frustrations, the kind we face every single day. Learning to apply Stoic wisdom in these situations is where the transformation truly begins. Consider the workplace. It's one of the most common environments where anger surfaces. Deadlines tighten, colleagues make mistakes, clients act unreasonably, and stress levels rise. It's easy to let frustration build and eventually spill out. A Stoic approach begins with recognizing what you can control: your effort, your attitude, your communication, and your professionalism. You can't control your boss's temperament or a coworker's behavior, but you can control how you respond to it. By pausing, reframing, and remembering the dichotomy of control, you shift your energy from blame to action. You respond calmly, address what's necessary, and let go of what isn't. Over time, this not only preserves your peace, but also earns respect. Because composure is rare in chaotic environments, relationships are another fertile ground for anger. Family members, friends, and partners can unintentionally push emotional buttons that strangers never could. Misunderstandings, unmet expectations, and differences in perspective can quickly ignite conflict. Stoicism doesn't tell you to suppress your emotions or become distant. Instead, it teaches you to see others clearly. People act according to their own nature, their experiences, and their level of understanding. If someone lashes out, it often reflects their internal struggle, not your worth. When you adopt this perspective, you can meet emotional storms with patience rather than escalation. You listen more, react less, and communicate with greater clarity. In many cases, what could have become a heated argument dissolves into calm resolution simply because one person chose not to mirror the anger presented to them. The digital world adds another layer of challenge. Social media has become a breeding ground for outrage, where opinions clash and anger spreads like wildfire. It's easy to get pulled into arguments with strangers or let online negativity ruin your mood. A Stoic mindset allows you to step back and remember that these interactions are beyond your control. You don't have to respond to every comment. You don't have to internalize every opinion. By exercising restraint, muting unnecessary noise, and focusing on your own mental state, you protect your peace in spaces designed to provoke emotional reactions. Even unexpected life events can be met with stoic calm. Flight cancellations, traffic jams, sudden changes in plans, or personal setbacks are all part of life's unpredictable rhythm. The untrained mind resists these disruptions, believing they shouldn't happen, and anger follows. The Stoic trained mind anticipates them as part of the natural order. It accepts reality quickly, adjusts, and moves forward. This ability to adapt with grace turns what could have been a source of irritation into a moment of quiet strength. Applying Stoicism in modern life is not about becoming detached or indifferent. It's about bringing wisdom into the spaces where frustration once lived. It's about practicing control in your daily interactions, small inconveniences, and emotional triggers until calm becomes your default state. When you start living Stoicism, not just studying it, anger no longer controls your day, you do. Conclusion. Anger may feel like an unstoppable force, but it is in truth a habit of the mind, one that can be unlearned with patience, understanding, and practice. The Stoics didn't promise a life without challenges. They promised clarity amidst them. They understood that the world will always present situations that test us. People will behave unpredictably, plans will fail, obstacles will arise. What determines our peace is not the events themselves, but the way we choose to meet them. The choice between anger and calm is made in the quiet spaces of our own minds. Through understanding the true nature of anger, recognizing what's within your control, applying timeless Stoic techniques, and bringing this wisdom into daily life, you build emotional strength that few possess. You stop being a prisoner of every irritation and begin to navigate life with deliberate clarity. Over time, the moments that once sparked anger become opportunities to demonstrate inner mastery. Where there was once reaction, there is now reflection. Where there was frustration, there is now calm. This shift doesn't just change how you feel, it changes how you live. Seneca once said, "No man is more unhappy than he who never faces adversity, for he is not permitted to prove himself." Mastering anger is not about avoiding life's challenges. It's about using them to strengthen your character. Each moment of irritation is a chance to practice wisdom. Each surge of emotion is a doorway to growth. When you consistently walk through those doorways with awareness, anger gradually loses its grip on you. You begin to embody the quiet power that Stoicism teaches. As you move forward, remember that this is a journey. The Stoics trained their minds daily, not because they were perfect, but because they understood that mastery is built through repetition. Start with one pause, one reflection, one act of restraint. Over time, these small choices reshape your inner world. And when your inner world is steady, the chaos of the outer world can no longer shake you. Anger will still knock at your door from time to time, but you'll no longer be compelled to let it in. You'll have the tools, the perspective, and the strength to choose differently. And that is the essence of Stoicism, not to be ruled by emotions, but to rule yourself with wisdom. If this message resonated with you, take a moment to reflect on it, and then take action. Begin practicing these Stoic habits in your daily life, one step at a time. And if you found value in this video, make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next lesson in mastering your mind. Share this with someone who often struggles with anger. It might be exactly what they need. Your journey toward a calmer, stronger, and wiser self starts right now.